Hello everyone, I'm Admiral Ellis of the TTO and welcome back to the Admiral's Musings. This week was the week of paperwork. I got a response from the government in Albany, Troy, or well, the Troy area in Albany as well, because it kind of supersedes them. In fact, I got a reply from the National Park Service recommending a couple of areas nearby Troy. Now, earlier today I returned from the, second of four, but really the first of three official scouting missions to these different locations. Of course, I'm not done with them, so I haven't settled on them yet. I should be finishing the other two tomorrow. And a lot of this week was me filling out stuff, a bunch of basically paperwork back and forths with uh, the Albany government and the New York state government. I did actually get my fusion reactors approved, but not the hydrogen, sorry, the radon-assisted hydrogen fusion, just the regular old, so that means we're going to have to haul in either another complicated system, or I'm going to have to make one from scratch. So that is going to be a project in and of itself, other than just building the darn base. I don't even have the supplies to make it yet, and I'm not sure what supplies I'm going to need until I select the actual geographical location, because I need to do some ground-penetrating radar scans to determine the composition of the rock, what kind of things I might haul up. I mean, I don't expect to find minerals down there, but if I'm going to be building a base and carving out all the stone, I might start, if anything there is valuable, I'll just start giving it to the government. But I'm not sure what I'm going to find because I don't know where I'm going to be yet. I don't think I'm going to go with the... I'm not going to give specifics on exactly where it is. There are a couple that are... There's one that's kind of smack dab in the middle of this empty, kind of marshy area, which is actually in very, very close proximity to the school, which is why I'm kind of looking at it. There's another one that was actually recommended by the school itself. I don't know who the hell had to do that paperwork and get back to me about, you know, expanding this basically a bunker that I saw the entrance to while I was there, and I'm not sure how the school committee, the admissions office, who was actually the people who did the paperwork, got wind of it. But they sent me a reply regarding expansion of the bunker into a quote technological complex for defensive locale. It was a very, very oddly worded thing, and I'm not sure I'm set on what they mean by it, or really if I can agree with all of that, because it's not directly for defense of locale. It's more like, I mean, that base will be subsidized to homeworld security once I'm out of it, but I'm not sure what's going to be going on before then. Probably just R&D, which is most of what I do anyways. Aside from that, I would be telling you a better story, but I didn't have time to do that this week. The better story will be whatever mission I was selected to go on for... Actually, they contacted me on Wednesday, but I was basically pretty sleep deprived from doing a ton of paperwork and not having any time really at home for the first half of the week that I said, no, give me a week. And they said, okay, we'll come back to you. We'll get back to you about it in a week. Now, I didn't even read the mission briefing, but I know it's not paperwork, or else they wouldn't send me. They'd send someone who actually doesn't mind doing paperwork, and trust me, there are people like that. It bewilders me as well. Why am I not on widescreen? Hold up. Trolls. No, I am. Sorry. Looked weird to me. What was I saying? So that makes a total of 5 base locations. Another one was offered to me by... This is really weird. There's a railroad, like a tourist railroad up there, and apparently they have ties to the New York state government, and so they proposed directly to me that I build off of one of their, basically build underneath the train station. Now, I normally wouldn't mind that, but not only is it in a populated area, like right in, I've dealt with that before, but since I'm going to be going to this place during the day now, it might be a little bit troublesome. And I'm not going to have a car, so I don't want to commute to the thing, which is why the actual base in Rensselaer is very, very appetizing, but I don't want to be running all sorts of, well, machines underneath the underneath Troy, first of all, but underneath the school. Again, it's going to be something that I want to be able to access more often than, you know, once a week or whatever. But I don't want it to be that, I don't want it to be something that I can say, well, I'm just going to walk down the street. I want to be like, alright, I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to go away and, you know, not away, but I'm going to go somewhere. It could be ambiguous, as in I'm going somewhere in town and I'm going to go walking away or catch a bus somewhere. I don't know. I mean, odds are I'll be using something closer to the batter to hell, or probably most easily a puddle jumper, which I could. There are a couple of kind of semi-abandoned industrial complexes at one end of Troy, which is a good place for me to park one of these things if I can strike up a deal with the guys who run it, or the people who own it. There's a couple of other options, but I'm not really going to get into that. One of them is on Green Island, which is in the middle of the Hudson River. It's kind of empty. It's easy to miss, I'll say that much. But I'm not going to be building onto the river. I don't want to go underneath that large of a water table. I'd also just be in danger of flooding the base. Not that I wasn't in danger of that anyways, because I'm digging far enough underground that I need to worry about any sort of groundwater. Which is why it was really so hard to get the reactors approved, or to get the radon reactors approved, because they have to be so close to the surface that if there was some sort of radiation leak, I wouldn't be able to contain it very easily. It wouldn't be something where I could seal off the air ducts. I'd just be suffocating myself if that were the case. But a straight-up fusion reactor is not polluting at all. Not hardly. Yeah, so the week of paperwork. Now, I'm sure most of you guys, if you guys do actual work out there, understand what I mean. It sucks. I mean, I'm used to spending my time in an organization where it's run around and have fun. Well, not necessarily have fun, but run around and get into shenanigans like the doctor. Because he's the one that spurs us all on. Of course, he's our leader. He's the boss. So we follow in his footsteps almost literally sometimes, in the way that his footsteps are very far apart because he is moving very quickly away from things that want to kill him. We do that. But when he has this kind of military might behind him, or well, not behind him, because he doesn't, a lot of the times he doesn't spearhead this stuff. And I can understand why after the Time War. But he'll leave us to basically do his bidding. I mean, and you could say that, well, look, why would he do that? But frankly, he built us to do his bidding. That's the reason why we're there. And while the Doctor is not only the inspiration, he's the head of the organization, just by rank. He's the top of the pinnacle. He's the one dude who's in charge of it all. We kind of run ourselves. We kind of run ourselves. It's more of a the League of Captains is second in command to him, but he very rarely intervenes with what we say we need to get done. Now, if we're really in a bind, he's almost always there to pull us through. But when you have 56, well, 56 was the count as of well, the Battle of Mabels, which was a couple of years ago now. A couple of years in my time, almost half a decade in theirs. It was 56 time travel capable warships, uh, not counting all of the transports, civilian and otherwise, commercial and private, freighters, which we have about a dozen of, small ships as well, like the Firefly, like the Serenity Firefly class. We actually have another Firefly class, but she's not in nearly as good a condition. I'm not even sure if she flies anymore. Captain of that ship was a very, very odd man. I'm not talking about Mal. I'm talking about the other Firefly. His name was just like Johnson something or other. Started with an S. Couldn't tell you. I didn't know the guy too well. He was on his way out when I was on my way in. He just kind of, he had two other people with him, and they were both, all three of them were pretty old guys. Like they were letting themselves age. They were starting to no longer care, and the ship was that way too. If it doesn't fly anymore, the reason is because the parts have been sacrificed to go to Serenity after a couple of pretty bad landings. The time drive wasn't interfacing at the beginning, so they were having some serious trouble, and they just got some bad luck with when they were doing their first trips. But I'm way off topic here. Not that there was much to talk about on the previous topic. That makes a total of 5 different base locations, 3 by the National Park Service, 1 by Rensselaer, and 1 by that railway company. Railway company is pretty much out because it's pretty far to the west. Or sorry, it's pretty far to the east of Rensselaer. It's up in the, it's in the middle of the Berkshires somewhere. I didn't even go and scout the place. Rensselaer base is an option, but it's not really one I want to go for. There's the Marshy Land, which is the one I checked out today, which is probably the best candidate so far. But there's a couple of other ones. There's one that's a little more to the east in the hills, and there's one that's across the river to the north. So I need to check out the one that's more to the east is a decent idea because it's kind of nestled in the mountains and it's pretty far away from anything, so I could do some pretty noisy stuff and not worry about it. When I was under Cranston, I'd have to go down to sub-level like 50 if I wanted to test explosives. We did have a room for that. Actually, it was 48. Most of, again, when I was talking about the base, I believe I mentioned, or if I remember correctly, sub-level 50 was the lowest. We didn't use hardly any of the lower ones. Again, we had explosive testing, and the whole entire area around it was soundproofed and vibration-proofed. But level 50, sub-level 50 was, it was basically dirt floors. It never got dry, really. It always had this kind of coating of water on the floor, and of course that got worse after it rained. And then if we had a dry, you could tell if we had a dry spell by, you'd go down to the bottom of the base, and the ground would be dirt instead of mud. But most of the pumps were way down there, just because it was the best place to put the pumps, closest to the water. So they'd be half submerged all the time, because well, there was sub-level 50, and then there was a big room in sub-level 50 where the floor of that was about 10 feet lower, and that was in the water. There was basically, we could have had a pool. We could have had a pool if we wanted to, or we could have another pool. We had a pool. It wasn't much of a pool, it was just kind of on a whim. I got bored and wanted to fill a room with water, so we did. And thus we had a pool. But we had these massive pumps. The pumps were 2 stories tall and just burned up electricity just about as fast as we could put it in. And when we shut them down, it was like a tidal wave came into the base. The water rose at about 1 inch a second. And it went shh, and it drowned all the way up to level 26, I think. And then we had these secondary pumps there. you know, in case of emergency, and they ran while we were cleaning out the rest of the base. But I've hit the 50-minute mark now, and I've talked about bases and stuff, and hopefully I'll have a decent mission report for you guys next week, because we're going to be out on a starship having fun with God knows who. Keep on staring out of those stars, too. You might not know who's coming down. I'm going to run out of those endings eventually. Keep looking underground, because there's geologic formations which you can extract stuff from and sell it to the government. I'll see you next week, guys.